It wasn't loud. There were no screaming matches, no broken phones, no dramatic goodbye. It was quiet. And somehow, that made it worse. When I first met her, everything felt almost unreal. She told me I was different, that I was calm, safe, that she had never opened up to anyone the way she opened up to me. And when someone looks at you like that, like you're the answer to something they've been searching for, it does something to your brain. It makes you feel chosen. The first few weeks were intense. She wanted to see me constantly, texted me all day, told me she missed me even when we had just said goodbye. At the time, I thought it was passion. Now I know it was acceleration, because real connection grows. This felt manufactured. The first red flag didn't look like a red flag. It looked like concern. She would say things like, "I just don't think your friends really respect you," or, "Your family doesn't understand you the way I do." Subtle, soft, almost loving. But every comment planted something, a small doubt. And doubts are powerful. I started noticing I was spending less time with other people. Not because she forced me to. She never demanded it. She just made it feel uncomfortable. If I went out with friends, she'd go quiet. Short replies, cold tone. If I chose her over them, she'd light up. Warm, affectionate, proud. It was conditioning, and I didn't see it. Because it didn't feel like control. It felt like intimacy. But intimacy doesn't isolate you. Control does. The shift was so gradual, I can't even pinpoint the exact moment I lost myself. At some point, I started apologizing for things that didn't need apologies. If she was upset, I assumed I did something wrong. If she was distant, I searched my memory for mistakes. She never yelled. She never accused. She questioned. Why would you say that? Why would you do that? Do you even care how that makes me feel? The questions weren't aggressive. They were surgical. Each one made me doubt my own intentions. And that's when it started. The self-editing. I stopped joking the way I used to. Stopped expressing certain opinions. Stopped bringing up things that bothered me. Because somehow, every conversation ended with me feeling guilty. Even when I wasn't wrong. There was one night I remember clearly. We were talking about something small. I don't even remember what it was about. But I remember the feeling. I told her I felt hurt by something she said earlier that week. She went quiet. Then she looked at me and said, "I can't believe you'd think I would ever try to hurt you." Suddenly, I wasn't the one expressing pain. I was the one causing it. I ended up comforting her. For something she did. That was the first time I felt something break inside me. But I ignored it. Because I loved her. Or at least, I loved who she was at the beginning. And I kept chasing that version. The warm one, the supportive one. The one who made me feel like I was everything. But that version only appeared when I complied. When I adjusted. When I shrank. And the scariest part? I didn't notice how much I was shrinking. Until I didn't recognize myself anymore. The moment everything became clear wasn't dramatic. There was no confession, no explosive revelation. It was a sentence, a simple sentence. We were arguing, or at least I thought we were having a discussion. I told her I felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells. She looked at me calmly and said, "If you're always on edge, maybe that's just who you are." And something clicked, because for months I had believed that. I thought I was too sensitive, too reactive, too difficult. But before her, I wasn't like that. Before her, I laughed easily, spoke freely, felt stable. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. She hadn't changed who I was. She had slowly rewritten how I saw myself. That's what psychological control looks like. It doesn't break you in one hit. It reshapes you quietly. It isolates you gently. It makes you question your memory, your reactions, your instincts. until you start asking, am I the problem? Leaving wasn't explosive either. There was no final scream, just exhaustion. The kind that sinks into your bones. The kind that makes you realize love shouldn't feel like constant self-defense. When I finally stepped away, the silence was unbearable. But slowly, clarity returned. My friends didn't hate me. My family wasn't manipulating me. I wasn't unstable. I wasn't broken. I had just been slowly convinced that I was. And that's the most dangerous kind of damage. The kind that feels like it's your fault. So if you're watching this, and you've started questioning your own reality, if you feel smaller than you used to, if you're apologizing more than you're speaking, pay attention. The signs are never loud, but they're always there. I just ignored mine. Don't ignore yours. And here's the part that still unsettles me. Even after I realized what was happening, a part of me still missed her. Not her. The version of her that never really existed. That's how deep it goes. Because when someone manipulates you psychologically, they don't just control the relationship. They attach themselves to your sense of identity. After I left, I replayed conversations in my head for weeks. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I imagined it. That's the final trap. When they don't even have to be in the room anymore, and you're still defending them in your own mind. I remember one specific moment. A few days before I left, she looked at me and said something that felt small at the time. She said, "I worry that without me, you'd fall apart." And she didn't say it as an insult. She said it like concern, like she was protecting me from myself. But now I understand what that really was. It was positioning. If I believed I couldn't function without her, I would never leave. That's how control survives. Not through fear, through dependency. And the scariest part? For a while, I believed her. I started doubting my ability to make decisions alone. I hesitated before texting friends, before making plans, before trusting my own judgment. It's terrifying when you realize someone slowly trained you to question your own instincts. And they never had to raise their voice. They just had to keep adjusting the narrative until you accepted it. The day I finally felt like myself again wasn't dramatic either. It was simple. I was sitting alone, in silence. And for the first time in months, my thoughts felt clear. No second guessing. No internal defense speeches. Just calm. And that's when I understood something important. Healthy love doesn't make you smaller. It doesn't make you confused. It doesn't make you constantly explain yourself. If you feel like you're shrinking, if you feel like you're losing your voice, if you feel like you're apologizing just for existing, that's not connection. That's control. And it never starts loudly. It starts exactly the way mine did. Soft, affectionate, intense, perfect, until it isn't. And by the time you notice, you're not fighting them anymore. You're fighting yourself. Don't let it get that far.